Exploring Uganda's innovation economy is where we're putting our Kickstarter this Wednesday morning. Thank you so much for joining us. You can follow us on our website, www.ntv.co.ug. I am Priscilla Regina Nalwoga. Now, we get to interrogate Uganda's innovation economy. Is it real, or are we describing an ambition versus an achievement? And so Global Innovation Index 2025 giving Uganda a score of 17.1 out of 100, ranking 124th out of 139 economies, far below the global average of 31.5%. Yet across the country, young people are building, young people are adopting, and young people are creating against all odds. So is Uganda laying the foundations of a knowledge economy or surviving on ingenuity without structures? Joining me is Bilton Mweru, to my immediate left, who is founder of Technovel, working closely with startups and innovators. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you. Gideon is also joining us this morning, coming in as Executive Secretary of the CIO Forum Uganda, looking at technological leadership. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Priscilla. Good morning, our listeners.
Let me start with you. What is innovation economy in simple terms?
Yeah, the innovation economy, and if you look at the innovation economy, we are looking at a separation between innovation activity and looking at how many innovators are contributing to the GDP of a nation. Currently, we are looking at an export of around $23 million. Of course, we understand the IT alone innovation economy is exporting $16 million. But we are looking at a global market of over $30 billion of how big the innovation economy is. So as a forum, we seek to separate the conversation between innovation economy and the innovation activity. Uganda is heavy on activity, on innovation, but we are little emphasis is put on the innovation economy. What is the innovation economy? It is intellectual property protection. Innovation economy, it is industry and academia linkages that are strong. It's linkage to markets. It is linkage to skill. Uganda has a young population. Everyone knows that. We have AI intent. That is activity. We have cybersecurity awareness. That is activity. But the economy seeks to protect the intellectual property. It seeks to invest intensely in research and development. Currently, Priscilla, our investment in research and development as a nation is 0.31% of the GDP. This means that we are not investing a lot in research and development. And as I said last week, if a nation's research and development intensity is low, we shall have nothing to show as a nation. So definitely, we are having that affect the innovation economy. We'll have less to show later as a nation because the research and development intensity is low because we are not investing in it as a nation as much as we should. And also, we have seen government not procuring things from innovators, local companies not procuring things from innovators. As a forum, we stand to create that linkage. Number one, for innovation to the market, innovation to skill, innovation to protection of intellectual property and policy. We want to make sure we link innovation to policy. And these are things we're holding our leadership accountable to.
This is where I want to bring in Bilton. On the intellectual property systems, are they weak? Are they discouraging what he's talking about, the linkages between markets, skills, and innovations?
Okay, if you look at the 14 current patent IP applications registered, that shows you a lot. It means we are not we're not relying on local solutions. We're not building local solutions. We're not patenting and we're not exporting solutions from Uganda. Rather, we are localizing global solutions to solve local challenges. And that still remains a constraining factor.
Okay, what's stopping Ugandan innovations from scaling from regional, local to regional and then global?
5 things, basically, like Gideon just mentioned. The knowledge economy is one of those other aspects we're not funding, because if we say we are funding research, okay, at 0.31% of the GDP, that's really low. Okay, now that means we have less less innovators benefiting from that. Plus, we are just funding all these multiple domains without specializing on one. So Uganda as a country hasn't specialized one. You know, you ever hear people say, if you want to find best doctors, you go to India, because now India is specialized in that. If you want the best 5G technology, you go to Taiwan, because they are specializing in that. They're not trying to do everything. So Uganda hasn't set a standard, hasn't decided on what path they exactly need. And that's also a challenge, because when they bring this smaller percentage, every sector is trying to what? To reap from that, innovate on that something. So
but from you being a direct participant in the space, where do you feel the strong, elements that we have in innovation? Which particular sectors do you feel we can, if invested in well?
If invested in well, honestly, I would go for agriculture.
Why?
Agriculture 4.0. Now, agriculture is one of those. Those domains that bring in a lot of money in the country, right? Now, farmers are using a lot of energy in their different participations, and they are earning little, right? Now, if we innovated, if we did R&D in agriculture 4.0, which is actually, passed, but we haven't really we haven't picked it up, right? If we did automation in agriculture, imagine how much the country will be earning more. The country will be earning from agriculture, okay? Automating farm post-harvest handling, automating, technologies for these early disease detection and classification. But we're not doing that. So if we did that, that would be some of the things. Maybe the other thing we pride ourselves as a company is education. If we also invested around edutech, I think we would really make a lot of money rather than relying on, importing solutions and we localize them to solve our immediate or constraining challenges in the country. I think we'll be doing really great as a country. All
right. Uganda, Gideon, has just recorded 17 resident patent applications. We want to find out from you, is this an innovation economy built on creative knowledge or adopting what is already in existence?
We congratulate Uganda for recording 17 patents. But on the recently, the current reports show that we are ranked 124th out of 139 countries, meaning with the 17 patents that are registered, according to the IP ranking, we are still very low. I participated in the Intellectual Property Development Toolkit with the Ministry of ICT that is resident there to protect local innovations. The Ministry of ICT did a great job on that patent. On the Intellectual Property Toolkit, and it's a available public document. But what has happened is that there is still a big linkage as a forum that we take serious on how intellectual property protection and has become very expensive for creatives, as well as we have less investment in research. So in order to classify our innovations to be novel, we must work with research institutions. And the forum last week, as I shared earlier, we launched a Tech Talent program where we are already with over 20 universities that we are going to be researching with to firstly create a local talent pipeline that was going to use the local solutions. But as well as we do that, we also want to research with these research institutions. We feel our doctors and the students are not being given enough questions from industry. So that's it basically. We feel the 17 is a good achievement, but we have a long mile to go. What you're talking about, again, Priscilla, UK recently did an innovation report where they were trying to analyze their innovations, and they found out that actually they are ranked 10th in the intellectual property patents at WIPO, at the World Intellectual Property Organization. Do you know what was shocking? China owns the top patents, and USA in quantum computing, in artificial intelligence, and other areas. So they were shocked. They were like, okay, what do we own? So the next technology, what is actually now trending? Countries are fighting. There's a warfare right now of who has patents in quantum computing. So we would love to see Uganda also want to go into that warfare.
Speaking of countries, you have made reference to the United Kingdom, you have made reference to India, so there's no reference to Africa. just between the two of you, and yet we would think that fintech in Kenya is doing quite well. Broadroom startups in Nigeria are doing quite well. This is where I want to understand what lessons as a country can we pick up, just maybe in reference to African stories. Bilton.
In reference to African stories, let me basically focus on Kenya and Nigeria. Now, Kenya built rails for fintech. It was easier for the government to create systems, right, for fintech. When you look at the story of M-Pesa ecosystem, it was easier for people in the fintech domain to go in Kenya and launch their solutions, because it's easier. Why? Because the government made it a thing, and the users in Kenya, the Kenyans, know that fintech is their number one payment platform, the economy. So now they created that, and even the policies, even the financing, okay? Because you cannot think of building a knowledge economy if you're underfunding it, and there are no policies, there are no structures. Now Kenya created those rails, like, this is okay for you. Now Nigeria, with over 200 million people, realized they have a bigger market. Okay, so they're like, okay, now let's utilize the market. Okay, let's provide funding and a scale platform for innovators. Because any kind of solution you introduce in Nigeria, you're 100% sure you're going to it's going to work out. Look at all the payment gateways we're using in Uganda. We're importing. They're from Kenya. Look at PesaPal. Look at Flatwave from Nigeria. Look at this other. It was recently purchased by Stripe. I'm forgetting the name, but they're all from what? From these two countries. Why? It's easier. They have policies that make it easy for such innovations to go on. Now, something we don't have in Uganda. Like I said, we haven't chosen a domain for us. Kenya chose fintech. Nigeria decided, okay, we have a market. We can launch whatever solution we have, and then there is money. So it's easier for you to, to run your solution, to launch, and also export your solution.
Okay, Bilton here highlights something that it all comes down to funding or position of governments on this direction. For the case of Africa, not even appearing in the top 50 innovations as far as global statistics are concerned, that's worrying and concerning. Where exactly is the problem? Is it a funding gap problem, or it's a governance perspective and priority problem?
As a forum, we love funding a lot. In the last meeting we had last week, we raised over $10 million that is going to be invested by European and American companies in Uganda. So we love funding. We believe in funding, but we still do not believe that Uganda's challenge is in funding. Even in how we are lobbying for equity in terms of brain power, having these people consult with us. And we've established that huge network of companies and Europeans and American people, professionals that would like to work with the forum, even at a Pan-African stage. So to state clearly, we need first establish governance, not funding, because Nigeria alone even has lost the crown for the fintech ecosystem. It's now with Egypt. And South Africa wants the crown, Kenya wants the crown, they will not get it. This is the problem. When Africans go on a stage demanding for funding, when we do not have a local embedded layer of sustainability of governance, we are in proper problems. That's why the forum seeks to bridge the gap between innovation and policy. And these are things that we are holding our leaders accountable to. For example, the current policy that is being read in Parliament, the sovereignty bill, the draft bill does not state anywhere a word innovation. It does not state technology, does not speak of technology. It seems it is a deliberate bias by policymakers to remove technology and innovation out of Uganda's economy. And we have dictated this and told the Ministry of ICT and key ministries, even Ministry of Finance, we cannot be a 500 billion economy when we are looking at incremental growth. We must look at disruption. How do we have disruption, Priscilla? It's very simple. Local utilization of innovation. So we do not need a lot of funding as Uganda. We need a lot of governance. That governance is missing. And that's why we have senior technology leaders across government and private sector that are seeking to create that, and we seek to amplify their voice. Thank you.
Okay. Bilton, what are the top 3 reforms that come off your head right now if we're to leapfrog from innovation activities to innovation economy?
Innovation economy. Now, I have to mention, in Africa generally, we skipped industrialization. And we're trying to jump into innovation. But we realize innovation cannot exist without industry. Okay? It cannot exist without industry. So now, if we are reforms, my main reform areas I'm trying to advocate for is industry and academia linkage. Because the thing is, we have innovators in different universities, but it's so rare to find a university working in the private sector when it comes to innovation. And also, the research centers in universities, if you look at the laboratories in Uganda and laboratories in outside universities, I'll mention University of Salano. These guys have what we call a SWINESA project, where the university is mandated to invest resources in the project students are creating, and then they're able to scale and export these ones globally anywhere out of the United States and UK, Asia, wherever. So now, if we can do that, if we can say academia and industry are linked, students are not only doing internships, and we have externships as a program, a mandatory program in a university. Because when you look at internship, basically max. When you go to a Ugandan university or institution, whether high school or whatsoever, because everybody is working for max. We're not working for impact. You understand? So if you can say, if you can have those programs in universities or institutions, secondary, primary, whatsoever, that support these innovations. That would be really great. I'll give an example. Last year, INEB released a theme for the lower CBC in senior theory last year, and they were like, using available resources, create solutions to solve community development, something like that, utilizations of available resources for community development. Now, you find students thinking of ideas, brainstorming, coming up with all these brilliant ideas, and all for marks. If there was an after academy or after school service introduced, that okay, these kids can go ahead and pitch their ideas to NGOs, to VCs, to whatsoever, and also there are policies and governance, like Gideon mentioned, that are protecting these innovations. Then I think we'll be a better country. Okay. Yeah.
Funding is not the problem. Yeah. The governance gaps are the problems. How do we measure, and what would be the measurable indicators for us as a country to show that there's progressive elements that are being put on the table to make innovation economy realistic for Uganda in the next 5 years?
One of the key things that we must look at urgently is the local talent. Currently, we have a big gap of a high level of unemployment. And as a forum, we have launched this program where we are going to take on university students and graduates. And we've launched an IT talent registry with the National IT Authority and the Ministry of ICT. This registry is going to have all the local talent that we have here, and we want to position it for global jobs and the BPO economy. But as we register these people, our interest is very simple. How can we give them jobs so they can get something to eat and survive for the start? And after we feed the hungry man, we shall now show them the vision quickly of the governance that we seek to have. So as a forum, we're not looking at the short-term goals, we're looking at also the long-term issues on governance. We know policy may take time. We're offering collaborative approaches. For example, the position papers we have drafted and that on the table of Parliament, we hope the policymakers will have to adapt. One of the biggest gaps we have seen, Priscilla, is that the policymakers have ignored technology, and it looks deliberate. So even if we seek to speak about it, and we basically appreciate it, we have seen a deliberate cultural misunderstanding and underappreciation of IT and technology, what it can do. So we are seeking to create a sandbox as a forum where we illustrate to government and private sector that we can actually accommodate these people and create jobs for them. But also urgently, we need to create that linkage for innovations to markets. That's why we want to have local utilization, of solutions. If a startup has a solution, we want to have companies utilize it, and big companies. So we're in partnership with the big companies, MTN among others, to utilize their platform better. So when innovators come, we as a forum, we are lobbying with MTN and MTN Momo to see how can we utilize their platform to a bigger scale. So it's among those solutions. So one of the things I must mention, Priscilla, is that we want to utilize shared value platforms that speak to each other. And this is going to help to look at scale. One thing you should recall is Uganda's innovation ecosystem and innovation economy has done promise to proof. We have proofs, but now we need to look at scalability. And that is the biggest gap. And governance is what's going to take us there. Okay.
As we close this conversation, what would be a call to action for the different stakeholders? Because it doesn't take only a government to be able to bring this into realistic impressions, but it takes other stakeholders. So I'll start with you, Bilton.
My call to action is to let the government know and all actors involved in this innovation economy. Things we have a lot of innovators with a lot of energy, okay? But innovators alone cannot survive without structures and systems, right? These innovations need to be protected. Even the funding we talk about, there should be structures for funding, which is never there. If you're going to give out a certain percentage of money to research, but what structures are there to make sure that, okay, this money is going to be exactly used for these, for the said.
And it doesn't end up in the protection of sovereignty bill.
It doesn't, you understand? Yeah. And basically, if we can realize that, I think we can really, we will get there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what
all
I
right.
would say, yeah.
Gideon,
yeah, so my closing remarks would be maybe discussing on the sovereignty bill, which we feel has a big gap. It has ignored, there are critical blind spots in the bill. The word technology does not appear anywhere in this protection. We wonder whether technology is a matter they seek to protect. The bill is very much silent on data sovereignty, among other information and other matters. We seek to not look at there are many critical digital infrastructure is ignored by this bill. The innovation system protection, it doesn't seem to be protected. If we are going to receive money from funders to support our innovation hubs, yes, and locally developed innovations, the bill is silent on that. And since we are a body that seeks to work with government, we seek to have the bill accommodate that we can receive money to support our local hubs. So in its essence, the bill does not define the statutory powers of the Ministry of ICT, UCC and NITA-U, which are our custody, which are our line ministries and departments and agencies, that they do not mention them at all. For us, we feel there is this deliberate attempt. But long story short, we are calling upon the public to reach out to the forum on any technology challenges you face. We are willing to support you. We have a big number of members that have a lot of capacity to support you. Thank you very much.
Gideon and Bilton, thank you so much for joining us and bringing us up to speed with where we are, and just opening our eyes to the fact that, yes, we might be confused by the activity we're seeing all over the place. Innovation. Tomorrow, the 30th, you do have the National Science Week picking up, and you'll be confused. Like, this is so much innovation in one room, in one space, in one country. But the difference comes down to systems, it comes down to structures, it comes down to governance and policies that are then supposed to get that and propel it into an innovation economy. So what we've had here this morning is that creativity is existing, but scaling and structuring and investment are all lagging behind. But what could be the real gap that can translate talent into money and economy for us as a country, it takes all of us to play a collective role. That brings us to the end of this conversation. But speaking of innovation, we do have financial institutions and insurance institutions that are coming together to be innovative at how best you can protect yourself, especially as far as your health is concerned. You know that your health is your wealth. So DFCU Bank, in partnership with Jubilee Insurance Company have come together to come up with a DFCU Blue Care insurance cover that caters to you, giving you a cover limit of up to 120 million Ugandan shillings. And this is for as low as 981,000 Ugandan shillings per 12 months that you pay. And in those 12 months, you get to have an inpatient and outpatient cover. Maternity is also catered for. You do have critical illness there that is also a big consideration in the DFCU Blue Care insurance cover, and also medical other medical necessities that you need to make, especially when it comes to financial decisions. They've got you sorted. So reach out to them on 0800 222 000 and be able to uptake that DFCU Blue Care health insurance cover, just designed for you. Also, you're reminded that in order to keep your innovation activity going, you need money, right? In funding is something that the two gentlemen have been talking about. So DFCU Bank is also here to fund you with up to 400 million Ugandan shillings with the DFCU unsecured personal loan. And so you can make that investment in that innovation at a leap of a frog and a finger. To a DFCU branch near you, get that 400 Ugandan shillings in millions and be able to make that innovation work for the rest of us. It benefits the rest of us. All this courtesy of DFCU Bank, growing together and going further. So that brings us to the end of Morning at NTV. Thank you so much for being with us. I am Priscilla Regina Naruoga. Coming up,